All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM, New York.
Good evening, fair skies and 45 degrees here at 6 o'clock. I'm Larry Mullins, and here's what's happening tonight. 1010 Wins caught up with the nurses reportedly fired, according to the union, for their part in the nurses' strike. But the hospital they work for says, no. Those workers were fired because of alleged underhanded things they were doing to sabotage the hospital. 1010 Wins spoke with both sides and got responses. Hang on a minute. Also tonight, former Mayor Adams is no longer on the job, but the scandals which plagued his office in the final days continue. A former aide on the hook for allegedly taking bribes in exchange for favors. Adams, by the way, not named in the indictment. More heat today against ICE after a City Hall worker is nabbed during a regular and otherwise routine visit to an immigration court. Former government worker facing criminal charges tonight after they say he allegedly used his big-time job to do a little cell phone business on the side. His alleged biggest client was a pawn shop. And out of New Jersey, it says here, Rover's poop could tell on you if you forgot to scoop it up. They're tying your DNA to Rover's fertilizer. Stand by for this. AccuWeather says cloudy skies tonight. Showers coming through later on. We'll drop down to a low near 40 degrees. Wednesday News Time 6:01. And from your Mercedes-Benz of Edison.com traffic center, as you head for the house, we've got Greg Rice.
Well, we've got trouble in Queens. Long Island Expressway westbound getting out past the Clearview to Utopia Parkway. You got at least one lane shut down because of this collision. The left lane is out, and you got a bad ride back to Nassau. The westbound Northern State Grand Central. If you're not in a truck, there is no reason not to. Getting you onto the Bronx-bound RFK Bridge has not been easy. We still have this collision in the left lane right where the westbound Grand Central and eastbound BQE merge. It's why the Grand Central is slow from LaGuardia and why the eastbound BQE has brake lights from Northern Boulevard. Queensbound RFK also slow. The Clearview Frogs and accommodations still the best of it across the upper East River. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels, the rest of them. Citybound George, good ride. West Side Highway, yes, it's sluggish from the 70s through the water treatment plant, but everything else is worse. Northbound Deegan, best you've got out of the Bronx. Lincoln, we're looking at about 15 to 20 in, 20 out from 11th, better from 9th. The outbound side of the Holland Tunnel, 20 to 30 minutes. The inbound Skyway is a bit of a mess. Newark Bay Extension, that's going to treat you better. Brooklyn-bound Brooklyn Bridge loaded up out of lower Manhattan. The Manhattan Bridge, the Williamsburg Bridge, the Battery Tunnel, they all do it better. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
It would appear we've had our ration of sun for the week, or at least for the beginning part. AccuWeather says we'll get rain clouds and gray skies along the way for the next couple of days. Meteorologist John Ferrick in the Weather Center to break it down for us tonight. John?
Yeah, we've got the clouds moving in now. They're going to be with us now really right through tomorrow night. Now, there's not going to be much more than maybe a shower late tonight and during the day tomorrow. The steadiest rain we'll see will be tomorrow night, and then as colder air sweeps in, rain could turn to a little bit of wet snow before coming to an end late tomorrow night, early Thursday morning, leading to some shifter spots for Thursday morning's commute, especially north and west of the city. So definitely stay tuned for further updates on that as we get a little bit closer. Larry.
Thank you, John. And now to the nurses' strike, everybody. As we told you here on 1010 Wins, the nurses' union made some pretty strong claims about the hospitals today, saying they're up to shenanigans, firing folk and intimidating folk who have spoken out and expressed their beef. But the hospitals tell a different story. 3 nurses who no longer work for Mount Sinai were reportedly fired with cause, according to the hospital. But 1010 Wins reporter Mary Lynn Buckley actually found the 3 nurses in question and talked with them.
Thousands of nurses are on the picket line. 3 in particular are fighting for their jobs back, saying they were wrongfully terminated by Mount Sinai.
We were both fired in pure act of intimidation.
It was Mount Sinai's cruel attempt to stop us from joining the strike line and to make an example of us to our fellow nurses. But we are not scared. We will continue to fight.
Mount Sinai tells us the 3 nurses they fired deliberately sabotaged emergency drills, and they allege they hid supplies from nurses in training. All of these allegations the former nurses speaking out deny.
We were contacted, terminated via voicemail.
Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM outside Mount Sinai.
Meantime, Presbyterian issued a statement not really addressing the intimidation claims, but saying we're ready to keep negotiating a fair and reasonable contract that reflects our respect for our nurses and the critical role they play. The hospital says the strike is designed to create disruption, but says we have taken the necessary steps so our patients continue to receive the care they trust us to provide. Still no word tonight from officials over at Montefiore Hospital, and 10 Wins will continue to monitor developments. Eric Adams, no longer the mayor, but the alleged corruption which plagued his final year continues to haunt They've charged a former aide of his with bribery now in 2 separate pay-to-play schemes. Prosecutors say Tony Herbert is connected to a $11,000 deal with a security company, allegedly in exchange for pressuring other city officials to give the company some contracts for public housing projects. And in another, the indictment says Herbert took $5,000 in kickbacks from the head of a funeral home in exchange for approving financial assistance for burial services for low-income families. The Fed says Herbert covered it up by doctoring the books. They say he abused positions he held from 2022 and 2025. And then there's this. The indictment quoted Herbert as allegedly telling the security executive, quote, "This is what we do, bro." And adding, "That was one of the reasons I told him," referring to Mayor Adams, "he had to put the security thing back in NYCHA so you could submit for that." Herbert is charged with bribery, wire fraud, extortion, federal program fraud. Adams is not named as a part of the indictment, nor is he charged with anything tonight. Outrage mounting now over these latest incidents involving involving ICE. Doesn't involve Minnesota at this point. We had rallies here today, including folks who are upset after ICE grabbed a central New York City staffer, a data analyst, when the guy went to a routine court appointment yesterday on Long Island. Mac Rosenberg is on board.
Standing in solidarity with a forceful message.
ICE out of New York!
Colleagues of Rafael Andres Rubio Bojorquez say he did nothing wrong. Council member Sandy Nurse.
This is not about law and order. This is about power. And specifically, this is a political project by the United States President to enact white power.
Councilmember Carmen De La Rosa says this is about more than just one person.
Imagine the hundreds of thousands that disappear overnight without a warning.
DHS says Rubio's visa expired in 2017. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
AccuWeather is mostly cloudy with a shower in some spots later on, north and west of here, a low of 40 degrees. And then tomorrow we go over the hump. Wednesday, rather cloudy. Still might be a shower or a bit of rain north and west of the city with a high of 48. Hanging on to 45 right now in Central Park. On Long Island, sentencing day for 2 people convicted in a body parts case. This is the one out of Amityville, which had everybody wondering, what in the world? Prosecutors say they killed and then dismembered 2 of their housemates whose remains were found scattered in different locations.
Family members of the 2 victims say they are heartbroken.
Can't believe we're here.
Jeffrey Mackey and Alexis Nieves pleaded guilty to murder and dismembering Malcolm Brown and Donna Keneally. Their body parts then scattered across Long Island.
Dismembering, chopping up body parts, disposing of them like they were just trash.
The attorneys for Mackey and Nieves say they were both abused and were sentenced under the new Domestic Violence Survivors Justice Act. Mackey received 22 years in prison, Nieves 11 years. Sophia Hall, 1010 wins and 92.3 FM on Long Island.
2 others, Amanda Wallace and Stephen Brown, pleaded guilty to disposing of the remains. They are still awaiting their sentences. In other news, a former government worker facing criminal charges tonight of allegedly using the influence of his job to run a little side hustle.
A Maryland man is accused of using his federal government job to order 240 new cell phones worth $150,000 and then selling them to a pawn shop between January and May of 2023. 43-year-old Christopher Sutherland worked as an administrator for a congressional committee.
Well, he doesn't work there anymore. That's Jim Crisula reporting.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Tech, sponsored by Lindstrom.
Amazon is expanding the artificial intelligence capabilities of its Alexa voice assistant. The e-commerce firm launched Alexa.com, which can be used across a number of devices, with Amazon saying users can get quick answers, explore complex topics, plan trip itineraries, and get help with homework. Amazon is competing against other AI assistants, including OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Gemini. I'm Jason Brooks.
Coming up on the mighty 1010 win. Pretty soon it won't be hard to figure out who let the dog out because they've come up with a way to tie what came out of Rover to your DNA. You won't believe this story in a million years. Anybody who owns a dog, you need to hear this one. We'll have it in a minute. Wednesday time 6:11, and from your Mercedes-Benz of Edison.com traffic center now. Let's get you where you need to go tonight. Here's Greg Wright.
Well, in Queens, you sign up for a certain level of pain on the Van Wyck, but this seems worse than usual. Looks like we've got a crash here on the southbound Van Wyck just past the belt as you get down to Kennedy Airport. That's why the traffic is just not moving from Jewel Avenue. Elsewhere in Queens, Long Island Expressway, a westbound standstill from Nassau County to Utopia Parkway with a crash blocking at least one left lane. Westbound Grand Central, eastbound BQ combination, getting to the RFK Bridge. The left lane shut with a two-car crash. A slow ride from LaGuardia and from Brooklyn on the eastbound Brooklyn-Queens Expressway. Here's what you need to know about the bridges and tunnels. Citybound George is fine. West side, the best of it out of town. Cross Bronx starting to look better than the Deegan out of the Bronx. It's getting to be that time of night. Lincoln 20 to 30 minutes in, 20 to 30 out from 11th, better from 9th. Holland back up to 20 minutes on the Jersey-bound side. We may have trouble inside the tunnel. And on the inbound side of the Holland, a slow ride from the Skyway Newark Bay extension. That does a better job either way. Greg Rice, 1010 wins at 92.3 FM.
Thank you, Jay. And let's see what this weather's going to do for us tonight. Your AccuWeather 4-day forecast. Meteorologist John Feerick with this live report.
We're going to have a lot of clouds out there for tonight, but it looks like for the most part, the balance of the night will dry. There may be a shower, a couple of spots to the north and west later on. Down to 40 in Midtown, then mostly cloudy tomorrow up to 48 again, maybe a couple of showers off to the north and west. And we'll see some rain move through tomorrow night, or at least it begins as rain. But as colder air sweeps in, could switch over and end as a little bit of wet snow late tomorrow night and the first thing Thursday morning, leading to some slippery spots for the Thursday morning commute. Northern Jersey up to the Hudson Valley, interior Connecticut. In Midtown, down to 35 Thursday morning. So should be just wet roads, but temperature keeps on falling Thursday as we dry out. Clouds break for some sun, windy. We fall toward 30. Brisk and cold Friday, partly sunny, up to 33. Right now in Central Park, 45 and mostly cloudy, going down to 40 in Midtown. There's John Feerick on New York's weather station, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
From Edgewater, New Jersey, tell Rover to be careful where he poops. They're running DNA tests now, which could lead back to you. If somebody forgets to use the pooper scooper.
Manager of Hudson Harbor in Edgewater, Christina Ortiz, says every resident pup is required to be swabbed so their genetic info can be kept on file. When a piece of dog poo is found on the property,
oddly enough, we take a small piece of it and we put it in what they send, like these biohazard containers, and we send it off to the lab, and they're able to connect it to which dog it may belong to.
And so far, it's working.
We had to pull them, obviously, who we had to find. It's very rare that we have repeat offenders.
The company that offers this high-tech solution to a messy problem is aptly named Footprints. Marla Diamond, 1010 wins on 92.3 FM.
Wins family, two questions. Who gets to pick up the poop to get the swab? And on the other hand, what is Rover thinking when somebody shows up with one of those long Q-tip swabs to get the swab? And how are they getting the swab? Let me stop it. Update now on a story we've been telling you about. Actor Timothy Busfield has now turned himself in to authorities in New Mexico to face child sex abuse charges. This coming hours after the U.S. Marshal Service announced it was joining the Albuquerque Police Department in its search for him. An arrest warrant issued last week after two kids reported that Busfield touched them inappropriately on the set of the Fox show The Cleaning Lady. The alleged abuse happened between November 2022 and last spring. There's been no comment yet from a lawyer who reps the actor, who's best known for his roles on The West Wing, 30-something, and Field of Dreams. From the NFL headlines, there's been both praise and criticism after what a reporter said at a post-game news conference after the Jacksonville Jaguars game the other night.
After the Jaguars lost to the Bills on Sunday, Lynn Jones-Turpin of the Jacksonville Free Press attended the news conference of Coach Liam Cohen.
I just want to tell you, congratulations on your success, young man.
Thank you.
You hold your head up, all right? You guys have had a most magnificent season.
It's lit up social media.
Your job is not to console. Your job is to observe, put into context, tell people why things happen, get information.
From Jamel Hill to Dan Patrick.
It's not what we should be doing, but it's not the end of the world.
Some sports journalists and ex-players like Pat McAfee have defended her. ESPN's Adam Schefter called it an awesome exchange.
Yeah, and somebody said, tell Jamel Hill to sit down somewhere. And now Lynn Jones-Turpin, after the controversy, saying, get over it. I'm human. The poor player is human, too. He's all heartbroken. And at some point, you got to drop these titles and let human emotion take over.
Game is over. Season's over. Party's over. So I didn't really come with that. And when she gave me the mic, it just flowed. It just came out. And I saw how he was hurting, holding this city on his shoulder.
That sound courtesy of East Coast News, and now Auntie goes a bit farther, telling critics.
They can email me if there's any question regarding my validity or credentials. Okay, I've been doing this a long time.
Mama says you don't want this smoke. She rolled her neck and gave it a Zorro snap and dropped the mic. Hello. The Better Business Bureau warning tonight, anybody planning to get tickets to the big Rams and Bears game this Sunday, buyer beware. The Bears are on a hot streak, which means ticket scammers are licking their chops for anybody looking for tickets to the game. Sunday's game at Soldier Field's a hot ticket, so there's a lot of activity on counterfeit websites, social media ads, scam emails, Telling folks to check the ratings and reviews of any third-party sellers. And at this late juncture, they say it's probably best to go to one of the, reputable ticket sellers. Or better yet, go through the Bears official site or the box office over at Soldier Field. Another dad giveaway, look at the website URL, everybody, and make sure it starts with HTTPS and that it has a lock symbol on the address bar. That's how you can tell if you're buying from the secure website. And oh yeah, Bears by 7. I said it. Caleb Williams is playing lights out and throwing like a grown man. I'm just saying. Headlines are next. From the heartbeat of Harlem to the energy of the Heights, we are New York's all-news station, 1010 Wins.
All news, all the time. This is 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
We'll give you fair skies and 45 degrees on it at 6:20. I'm Larry Mullins, and here's what's happening tonight. The nurses' strike headed to day number 3, unless some miracle happens overnight. And day 2 began with some controversy where the union is claiming the hospitals involved have fired people and intimidated others who've been outspoken. But one of the hospitals says, oh, no, you don't. Well, we talked with one of the nurses today. Judge in the Gilgo Beach serial killer case has told lawyers for Rex Heuermann, if you got anything else you'd like to challenge prior to the start of this case, you better speak now. Don't come up here later. The judge saying, quote, come hell or high water, we're going to get this thing done. Uber and DoorDash workers getting ripped off. That's the word from a watchdog, which says the new tipping formula has built these delivery folks out of more than $500 million. We'll have the details on that. Governor Hochul delivering her State of the State address today with a lean towards affordability. First thing on the list, as expected, was universal child care. And singer-songwriter James Taylor headed for a 29-date U.S. concert tour that'll put him at the Jones Beach Theater in June. We'll have details coming up on 1010 Wins Entertainment. AccuWeather says tonight, cloudy skies, showers coming through later on, and drop down to a low near 40 degrees. Wednesday news time 6:21, and from your Mercedes-Benz of Edison.com traffic center to get you home tonight, here's Mr. Greg Wright.
Well, here's all the trouble in Jersey. 80 eastbound getting out towards exit 60. We are still dealing with trouble in the form of a crash blocking one lane. It makes a mess all the way back through Totowa. Route 4, a westbound crash from Paramus to Route 17 in the left lane. That's why you're slow from Teaneck. And southbound 17, a standstill into Moonachie. We're at Industrial Avenue. 2 left lanes are still shut with the ongoing emergency construction work. Southbound Garden State Parkway, a double shot of the bad stuff. First in Cranford at exit 137. Somebody broke down in the right lane. And then southbound Parkway in Woodbridge at exit 132. You've got the central lane knocked out because of a crash. Getting out of town to the Lincoln Tunnel, they've got the center tube shut, so that's 11th Avenue, and that's why that is just moving 40 minutes once they throw the green light. Go to 9th Avenue, much easier to skip town. Inbound Lincoln's all right. City-bound side of the George Washington Bridge, for more than a few minutes. The west side highway is real good out of town. Cross Bronx slows through 3rd Avenue. That's the worst of it. Holland Tunnel out of the city, no more than about 20 minutes. Inbound Skyway is slow. Newark Bay is better. Clearview, Throgs Neck, best of it across the Upper East River. Queens, Long Island Expressway, a westbound crash before Utopia Parkway. That's why the 2 left lanes are shut. That's why you're slow on the LI from Nassau. Northern State Grand Central combo is better. Greg Rice, 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM.
Some scuttlebutt from the picket lines today stemming from the nurses' strike. It's turned into a finger-pointing with some very serious accusations. While you were at work today, the nurses' union says the hospitals are firing folks and intimidating folks who have been outspoken. One of the hospitals says, you can miss us with that. The firings came after the employees tried to sabotage the place. And it's that back and forth, folks, which now adds to the contract dilemma facing both sides. 1010 Wins reporter Mary Lynn Buckley tonight.
Nurses are out on the picket line as the strike is continuing on day 2. Mount Sinai says they terminated 3 nurses last week for allegedly interfering with patient safety and sabotaging emergency preparedness drills. Kelly Donnelly, a labor and delivery nurse on that floor, speaking out.
Just hours before we decided we were going on strike, my coworkers were unjustly fired via voicemail. We spend our days delivering the future of New York while management spends their days delivering working nurses' discipline.
Nurses here on the picket line are all standing in solidarity with their now 3 former co-workers. Mary Lynn Buckley, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM at Mount Sinai.
Presbyterian issued a statement tonight as well, but it really didn't deal with the allegations made that it's intimidating folks. Instead, writing a statement saying that we'll do whatever we need to do to protect the interests of the patients there. We invite you to stay with 1010 Wins for the very latest updates. Day 3 tomorrow. Again, unless there's some miracle overnight, folks. A word from the judge to the lawyers representing accused Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann. All right, fellas, you're on the clock. Get any other outstanding challenges you have in this case submitted before trial, or else.
Come hell or high water, the trial will begin after Labor Day. Those words from the judge in the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer case as Rex Heuermann's attorney, Danielle Coyce, once again tries to fight the DNA evidence against her client.
Individuals throw away their garbage all the time, and the law supports this idea of abandonment. Rex Heuermann may have abandoned his pizza crust, but he never abandoned all that personal information that's now in our DNA.
Suffolk County DA Ray Tierney says the DNA results show without a doubt that Heuermann committed the crimes against him.
We're ready for trial.
Heuermann pleaded not guilty. Sophia Hall, 1010 Wins, a 92.3 FM on Long Island.
And a new study says Uber and DoorDash delivery workers are getting ripped off of their tips, and we're talking millions here.
$550 million is how much the city says DoorDash and Uber delivery drivers have lost since those apps moved the tipping option to after checkout. Consumer and Worker Protection Commissioner Sam Levine.
Before the companies made this change, the average tip was about $3.70. After they made this change, the average tip was less than $1.
But it'll soon be the law for these companies to suggest a minimum 10% tip before checkout. Uber and DoorDash have sued to challenge it.
These companies have fought every effort the city has put forward to try to hold them accountable.
Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
DoorDash says tipping after checkout is how it works in many areas of life, and they're accusing DCWP of pressuring people to tip even more. And now Bloomberg Money Watch, sponsored by Petro Home Services.
The Trump administration is putting pressure on Canada to end its boycott of U.S.-made alcohol that's hurting U.S. distillers. Most Canadians want their governments to hold firm. Several provinces, including Ontario and Quebec, pulled U.S. wine and spirits from stores last year after President Trump started a trade war. It cost American booze makers millions in sales. A Nanos Research Group poll for Bloomberg News shows almost 3/4 of Canadians still support that initiative. Stock indexes down today. Dow losing 398, NASDAQ down 24, S&P down 14. Amanda O'Day, Bloomberg Money Watch on 1010 Wins of 92.3 FM.
When's news time? 6:30.
Good evening. I'm Lori Madden. Governor Hochul laid out her priorities for the year ahead in her State of the State address today.
Governor Kathy Hochul is pushing back on aggressive ICE enforcement.
People of all political beliefs are saying the same thing. What we've seen lately has gone too far, and enough is enough.
She was cheered when announcing plans to propose federal warrants to enter sensitive locations and no state cooperation on raids not involving serious crime. Hochul underscored public safety on the subways.
We'll install more platform barriers at 85 additional locations and expand our elite mental health units to get people in crisis off the trains and into care.
She says protection and affordability will be her mantras in 2026. Juliette Papa, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Wins News Time, 6:31. Let's get you where you need to go. Here's Greg Rice.
Well, here is Queens, Long Island Expressway westbound, getting you over to the Clearview Expressway and then over to Utopia Parkway. That's the issue on the westbound Long Island.